Today I'm interviewing Mark Homa about his TV show College Campus Cooking. Today is September 23rd, 2023. We are at Mark's apartment in Morrisville, PA. Mark, tell me where you came up with the idea of College Campus Cooking.
Hi, Scott. College Campus Cooking, why the basis from it came from, I was working with a media company. I go back 40 years to CBS where my career started, and I always wanted to get involved in a show, some media, ever since the Ed Sullivan show when I was a kid growing up. And I was talking to working for a picture company with Gavin Rapp, and it was always about feature films. And then we started discussing, well, how about doing hour shows, half-hour shows? And during the pandemic, people were staying in, they were cooking, doing things for themselves. So we talked about a possible cooking show. Well, what happened was it fell on deaf ears because we talked about it and nobody wanted to continue on. Well, I did because I always wanted to get involved. My entire career, even since my childhood, those creative days when you're 8, 9, 10 years old, you're learning to play a guitar or the drums or you're recording. It's just something that I wanted to do. It was in my blood, the media industry. So I said, I'm going to focus on the Gen Z students. They're the future. It's those that are currently in college, going into or getting out. And we need to address healthy eating, traditional family meals that we always had on Sunday afternoons, because we were raised by the greatest generation, the old school. Every Sunday, you always had these delicious home-cooked meals. It was family day. You went to church. You played with your family, your friends. It was a day off from work. So I wanted to capture that and pass that on to the new generation coming up. And as you know, 50 years ago, we didn't have this problem with obesity and diabetes like we do today. So we needed to combat that and find a way to get the new generations on a healthy track. So that was my mindset for community and cultural competence, was to try to get a message out to the masses about you need to eat healthy and diet, exercise, a good moral living. And so that's how the concept came to be. So we needed to get a message out to the communities about how we could build strong communities, healthy kids, healthy families, because we are constantly bombarded with all the junk foods. If you watch professional sports that are on or any of your shows, you're always getting hit with quarter pounders from McDonald's and Whoppers from Burger King and tacos and pizza. And if you have a steady diet of what's advertised, you're going to implode. Okay, it's not real. It's not reality to have a steady diet of that. We all have junk foods, and we all we all eat junk foods, but you don't want a steady diet of it. So that's how that's how the concept came to be.
Okay, good. So that's the concept, and at one point, you decided, well, you got to put this on paper, create a treatment, a pilot, and try to sell it to someone. So tell me about the process. How did you go about writing this?
Okay. Well, once you get the concept, you have a visual of what you're trying to do that I just explained to you. You have to write it down on paper or type it into your computer. Okay. You need to take it from a visual concept to content, and you need to sit there and write it out. Okay. We have this idea. We want generations moving forward to eat healthy. And these kids are on college campuses. We have 4 to 5,000 colleges and universities. We have hundreds of thousands of students, and we need to get a message out to them. So we start by writing down just what I told you, the target audience, what we're trying to accomplish, how we want to build stronger communities. And you write it down, and you go through the process of saying, okay, we're going to, our participants are going to be college kids. So we have to go out to college campuses and universities, and we have to bring in world-class chefs, and we have to bring in our production crew, and we have to bring in people that have seasoned experience to be able to make the show. So we create the concept, and we write the content. Now you need to develop the show, you need to write it, produce it, and then distribute it, get it out to audiences everywhere.
Sounds good. Now, I know because we're good friends, I know you well. As you were coming up with this pilot, can you talk about some of the health issues you were facing and what that whole process was like?
Yeah, it was very difficult. It's that I have a lot of T-shirts. I was struggling with cancer, stage 3 going into stage 4, prostate cancer. My dad died from it, so did my brother. And I had a lot of other mishaps. Unfortunately, I was in a serious auto accident. I fractured my neck, C7. My legs were crushed. I lost the use of my left eye. I was homeless. And there are different levels of homelessness. I was actually street homeless. That's where, Scott, you're under the sun, the moon, and the stars, and you're physically on the street. That's where I was. Now, I graduated up to a vehicle, where you're vehicle homeless, and then you're scrambling to find a water source. When you're homeless, you always need to find a water source so you could clean yourself. And I was part of what they called the working homeless for 4 years and 4 months, where I actually worked, but I was caught up in a sweatshop. I was caught up finally in a trap house when I got off the street, and I had a lot of ailments. And as I say, I was in stage 3 cancer going into 4, and I needed treatments. And participating with these episodes that I was writing, that kept me alive. Literally kept me alive, because if I didn't have that, whatever happened, I just may as well die.
Great. Okay, I understand. So you were at that point, and when was this? Was this what year did you start writing it? And I'll say, at that point, you were in an apartment with a friend of yours, renting an apartment.
Yeah, finally I had gotten off the street, so I had overcome homelessness. My neck was enough that I could barely walk. I'm on a walker. My legs were crushed. I struggle with all the ailments that happens when you're involved in a car wreck like that. The loss of my left eye, and the loss of my pension plan, that imploded. The cost of the health care, all the bills. So I lost my pension. I lost my stability. I lost my security. And again, trapped in a sweatshop where you just don't make enough money. You're working harder than you ever had, 10, 12 hours a day, every day. You're working every day that ends in a Y, and you still don't have enough to make ends meet. So, but again, you just have to keep working and finding other sources of income to do this. So the cancer was life-threatening to me. That if you allow this cancer to manifest itself and not have the proper treatment, which I had trouble getting insurance to cover everything, the cancer was growing. My PSA numbers were through the roof. The cancer was growing inside, and if you let it go to a point, it will become malignant, and then you'll eventually die. So I wrote these. I wrote the script up when I was struggling like that. So I had many ailments. I had many problems, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. but at least I was able to gather enough money together to share an apartment and be able to write these episodes.
What was the writing process like? How long did it take you? Was it what year was it?
It was during the pandemic when we came up with the idea. 2021, coming up with the concept and some of the content, and then actually in 2022, when I started going through the treatments of cancer, actually writing it, and it took several months, 3 to 4 to 6 months, to actually write it on paper to be able to pitch it to colleges and universities to have them participate on the show, and then interviewing the different colleges to see who would benefit from this. And we happened to land Delaware Valley University in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. They're a 125-year-old institution. They were established to continue to give us a food supply. They donate thousands of pounds of vegetables and fruits to the pantries and the markets. So that was an ideal college to talk about food and talk about health.
So in 2022, you finished the proposal, and the next step is what? You have to sell this to a college like you're talking about, and also a TV producer / director who will put this on the air. Talk about how that went.
Yeah, well, I lost all my contacts. I worked for CBS Television. My career was there. But all these people now, I had lost contact with them because I had to leave for caretaking purposes and all the strife that I was going through. And they were older, so I lost most of my contacts. So I literally had to sit down and introduce myself to the food networks, to anybody that would listen to my pitch. So I had to make a pitch deck with this content, with what I wrote, to all the companies. And I came across a show called The Chef's Kitchen, owned and operated by Stephen Horn. He had a track record. He had his whole career. It was a 23-year-old going into its 23rd year, the show. It was seen by over 76 million households, quite the distribution, and he liked it. He felt that it was a good tool to use to reach the people. It was healthy for our people to hear this, and at the same time good for the college is a recruiting tool for them to say, hey, we care about our communities, we care about our people, especially our young people. And so he edited all of my work that I had done, and then I started to pitch it to the schools, and we landed the college, and then we had to continue to write, to plan, to set up, to record the actual episodes, of which we recorded the episodes. And you, Scott, you came into the mix right when we were going to record the shows.
Right, and that was it was late February 2023. Just to backtrack a little bit, you landed Delaware Valley University here in Pennsylvania. What was that like? Who were you in touch with? Who were the gatekeepers? How did that process go where they finally said yes? And you, if you want to talk about the finances.
Yeah, the finances, they contributed to paying into our cost of production. So just like you would make a pilot, somebody has to finance this. And whether it's Netflix or Amazon or wherever, so the college actually contributed because they were getting so much back, a return of using it as a recruiting tool. It's going out to 76 million households throughout the country, phones ringing off the hook. Hey, how do I apply to Delaware Valley after I've seen this? And it's a process where you have to involve the president of the college, the marketing people, the communications people, the provost. There has to be a meeting of the minds, and they all have to be on board and want to do this. Unlike selling something to a buyer, like I sold media, I sold outdoor media, and you called on a buyer. One person, that was it. And they either bought it or they didn't. in this type of a scenario, you have to convince many people in the college that it's well worth it, and they see that, hey, they're going to reach a lot of people and it's going to be seen on television. So that was attractive for them to do this. And so I had to bring together the production company, the financing of the show, and now the show would actually have commercials where advertisers paid money to advertise on the show. It was seen in what they call early access, 7 to 7:30. It was the early access into prime time. As you know, you have your news, your local news at 6, 6:30 to 7 is your national news, and then that 7 to 8 o'clock slot is what they call early access that goes into your prime time, 8 to 11. So I had to wear all the hats. I had to create it, write it, then it needed to be edited by Stephen Horn and his people, and he owned the show. Make no mistake, he owned the show, but I provided the content, the concept and the content to get it all started. Is the pretext to like being a showrunner, where you create it and then it was written, developed, and produced by him and his people, and it was financed by the money that came in through the college and advertisers also, and it was a very successful project to do.
Great. Now let's fast forward a little bit. You've got the deal in place. The college is on board. Got the financing. Mr. Horn, the producer / director, he's got his contact with you. His guy named Adam. You coordinate the lead up to the taping. Everything's in place, and talk about how many episodes we taped that day. What was the taping like? I mean, how did you feel walking in there? And I believe that was the first time you ever met him, right, Mr.
Yeah,
Horn?
it was the first time I ever met him, his entire production team, and you have all the production people, the sound people, the boom, the gaff, the cameramen, the makeup artist. You have an entire production team like you do with any show, and it could be small, large. You have a stage. You have a studio that you create to tape these episodes. You have chefs coming in. And again, Mike Solanoff, he's an up-and-coming chef. He was on Good Morning America. He owns restaurants, part of a large group. He was very personable. You have a hostess that is talking about what we're doing. And it's really a great feeling once you've gotten all this together, and it took all this time. Now you're going to actually tape it, and you're actually taking your creation and making it. Like all the ingredients is there, like making a cake. Now you're actually going to make the media product. And we did 4 episodes in that one day with multiple chefs, multiple college students, and we rolled right through it, which you were privileged to sit in on.
Yeah, it was really fun, and it really took all day. We got there in the morning, and things run slow. I'm not used to being in a TV production, so yeah, the director. I think we counted 10 people altogether who had to put this together, from the host to the director and everyone in between, makeup artist, and of course the people at the college were there. Mm-hmm. The president. People were interviewed off camera, etc.
Yeah, they used B-roll, and again, the president was very eloquent in discussing all the advantages of coming to the university and how important it is to do something like this. And when you watch the show, in the episodes, they mention about the theme of the show, college campus cooking, that you're teaching the students how to cook healthy for themselves. They're going to have more friends than they ever knew, and some of them were athletes. They eat a lot, they need a lot of food, and you could take this into your own homes. You could cook for your family, for your friends, for your community. There's more than enough to go around on a budget that you would have in your pantry in everyday cooking versus constantly going out for fast food and carbo-loaded, sugar-loaded foods that you really shouldn't have a steady diet of. And just eat healthy. You'll feel better. You'll look better, and it'll keep you on a road to good health.
Yeah, I like how they got the students involved. Students were on camera for each segment, different students, different chefs, and the food was really completely different for each episode, which was fun. Talk about the watch party. So after this thing we wrapped up production, about not even 2 months later, it started airing on the local Comcast station in Philadelphia. And talk about going to our friend Robert's house, and the whole gang was there.
Yeah, we had friends over. We happened to be saying a rosary that day. I'm one of those guilty Catholic kids. We had a great dinner like you would see on the show. It was fresh. It was seafood, scallops, and we had some pasta in there. And we gathered around, and here it is. We actually created this. We made this show, and here it is. It's actually coming to air, and this is being seen by not only the household that were there, by millions. There was 76, probably 78 million audiences are going to be watching this show nationwide. It's going to be rotated in the Philadelphia market. We saw it on NBC 10 Plus, and it'll be seen in Florida, California, Texas, everywhere. And then they added the commercials to it, and so there were key advertisers that were on there. And just to watch this on air, and we created it. We participated in it. We know all the elements in what it took to bring this to air, and there it is. It's something airy, and it's just a fantastic feeling that you actually made something, and all these people are now watching this, and hopefully they would see it and they could select their favorite chef or college student or whatever dishes that they're putting on the menus. I think he had some Mediterranean dishes in there, very simple, very healthy. Everything was very healthy for you to eat, and it's entertaining. It's brought to you in an entertaining way, where if somebody sat you down and said, you got to eat this and you got to eat that, this wasn't the way. It's like you wanted to. You had a good feeling in the way the chef would elevate the college student, calling them the chef, empowering them to cook, to show them how it's done by these world-class chefs who are making a living doing this. And these are kids. These are college students. A lot what you see on there is professional people or novice people. They're adults. And they're constantly trying to outdo each other with all these gastronomical delights. Where this is the youth of America, and you could take this worldwide. You could have the youth of the world participate, being taught how to cook, healthy, and this is a skill set for their entire life. This is a skill set that you learn that you could take with you your entire life and then pass it on to your children, your grandchildren, your neighbors, your friends. It's just a healthy. It makes for a healthier community and a healthier culture, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember thinking back to the taping when the cameras weren't rolling. We had a great opportunities to chat with the kids who were doing the cooking, the chefs, all the production people. Michael Solomonov was great. Talk about how friendly he was, and some of the kids, we chatted with people.
Mike came in, there was a lot of love in the room when Mike came in, and he even came over, put his arm around me, took the picture. We took a picture, and it's like, here's the guy that put it all together, and Mike came by as an integral part of the show, being one of the celebrity chefs, so to speak. And we took pictures with the kids and with the owner of the show and with all various production people. And because it's a collaboration, it's a group of people coming together to make this happen. So we did it, and it was very successful, and it was well received within the within media. And from what we understand, it had what they call a high TVQ. That means when people would tune it in, they would be captivated, motivated, like enhanced to want to watch what was going on, because it's like, what are they doing here? Oh, it's what are these kids? It's healthy for you. This is good for you. This is what your children should be learning, and it's an education and it's motivation, and that would lead me then to want to continue this and write another treatment with additional concepts and content to then take this to the next level.
There aren't many people who are able to create something for TV, put it on paper, sell it, get it produced, and put on the air. I think it's safe to say, is this a dream come true for you?
It was a lifelong dream of mine ever since I was a kid. And as you're growing up, I grew up in a typical blue-collar household, steel workers, and that was life. And that's what your future was. You were going to work in the steel mill. You were going to have a job where you got up every day and you had to work hard from sun up till sundown. And that was our life. My father was a steel worker, and my mother was a homemaker. The children, all my uncles, they all worked in the steel mills. And as you know, that's hot, that's dirty work, it's shift work, and they wanted something better. And so when I was looking at the different industries, I always was attracted to media, TV shows, movies. It was an escape hatch for me growing up as a kid, rough and tumble, getting into fist fights, that whole scene of growing up. And, we grew up, we wanted to be the Bond, James Bond. John Wayne rode high in the saddle. We watched his Western, his shows. And here, when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, like writing songs, taking the recorder around, interviewing people and stuff. 11 years later, I would graduate college and have the privilege of then working at CBS television, where I had watched the Ed Sullivan Show growing up as a kid on Sunday nights. And here, all these years later, I'm there. So to be able to have a career in the industry, and then the icing on the cake is to continue on at this late age with all the complications that I have had, through the homelessness, being crippled, being partially blind, having overcome cancer, having lost my pension, being out on the street, and to work my way back and to have the privilege of doing something like this. It really kept me focused on something that was positive. And it helped keep me alive, basically.
As far as next steps, I know you're working on a little riff on the college campus cooking concept to create something a little different. College campus cook-off. Can you talk about that a little bit and where you might be headed with that?
Sure. Campus, we're just going to go campus cooking cook-off. Campus is the Latin word for field. And typically when you think of a campus, you think of an educational institution like these universities. But you could have campuses, you could have work campuses. Here in Pennsylvania, there's the Vanguard campus. They're one of the largest financial institutions. You go out west, you have Google, you have Facebook, you have Twitter, that's campuses. You have medical campuses, you have the Mayo Clinic. So anywhere where there's concentrations of people and they should be eating healthy food. So we're going to open it up to all the campuses, whatever field you're in, and have a cook-off where now we're going to go and these reality shows and these competitions within these reality shows, it's unscripted. We're going to take colleges and we're going to give the kids the pantries, and we're going to have them work with the chefs everybody's going to have the same ingredients, and they're going to have to come up with an appetizer, a main course, a dessert, however the format is, and they're going to compete to see who could make the best dishes given what you have. And we'll have a panel of judges made up of sports figures, political figures, just people out that you see, and they're going to score the cooking samples that the kids have, and they're going to come up with a winner. So you're going to be able to, you might be attracted to certain judges, to certain colleges, certain kids, certain chefs, whoever you pick out in the show, regardless of where they finish, if they're coming third place or second place or they win or whatever, it's not really going to matter. It's going to be what the audience, who they choose as their favorite person and dish that they make. So that's where we are with the next pitch, to take it to compete with the food shows, the reality shows, the competition. That's where our next steps are, and I'm very excited about it because we're trying to find that fit where we could then, we created this and put it to paper, and we made a product, and now we're going to continue to want to make products for distribution on different media platforms. So it's exciting, and again, it keeps me alive, having to deal with all my afflictions that I wouldn't wish on anybody. I would not wish any of these afflictions, because think about those that are healthy, that are fortunate. They've never had cancer, they've never been homeless, they've never had blindness, they've never lost their pensions. And I've experienced all that. So when people say, "Oh, well, you don't know what it's like to be homeless," yes, I do. You don't know what it's like to have cancer. Yes, I do. I know all these hardships and threatening situations that I have to live with every day and find a way to survive while I'm pursuing one of the most fulfilling job duties or functions that you could ever imagine.
That sounds great, Mark. I think that wraps up. Any final thoughts or?
Final thoughts is that no matter what you're burdened with, there's alcoholism, drug abuse, homelessness, cancer, loss of your identity, caught up in a trap house, caught up in toxic relationships. Continue to overcome that. Continue to keep your faith. I pray a lot. There's one God. I offer it up. Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, Jesus, Blessed Mother, help me through my days and through my nights. And I'm hoping that, He allows me to continue, that He has my mission work for Him. And I've actually been blessed to be able to do this and to continue on. So I'm hoping that I will have enough life to continue to pursue this. So again, for everybody out there that's burdened, has a heavy cross, has a lot of dysfunction and hardships to overcome, look at what I have to endure. Look at what anybody has to endure. We all have our crosses, and that you have to continue somehow to keep the faith and to just put it in God's hands, and that He's going to help you do what's best for your plan with Him. So again, I wish everybody well, and I wish everybody good fortune. And you say you may want to trade crosses with somebody, but you're given, what you're given, and do the best you can, and just continue to pray and to continue on to rise and rise above all of your hardships, to do what it is you always felt that you could do.
Amen. Thanks, Mark. That's
Thank you, Scott.